Cars. Cars. The automobile of the future. The easiest way to get to your destination without having to interact with simpletons.
No, Johnny, I told you, sit down, turn that light off. God so help me, I will turn this car out.
But what happens after you drive your car? What thoughts go through its mind as you park and leave? Does it have any desires? Hatred? Love? This is a question that Pixar asked themselves one day, and in 2006, they released a film to answer all of these worries. Following the story of a young race car, he must learn that there are more important things in life than racing. Friends, community, extortion, and the all-encompassing power of guilt. But it seems that in the process of answering the great secrets of life, Pixar may have accidentally created a monster. A shambling mess of confusing lore, nonsensical rules, and poorly thought-out details. Few are willing to decipher the chaos that Pixar has unleashed, and many are driven to madness. That's a car joke. But some have braved the impenetrable nonsense and have found the real answers to the Cars universe, which have been conveniently organized into the 95 Theses of Cars. All this and more in tonight's episode of In the Parking Lot. Despite drinking fuel, cars have teeth. They also have fuel fill caps, meaning they technically have two mouths. They drink oil through their mouths and not their engine. They can eat real food, meaning they have a separate system for their gas as well as their food. Even if they run out of gas, they simply cannot drive. They don't starve, meaning their GI tracts and their engines have to be separate. How did they exist before the discovery of oil? They must be part machine and part organism. Max says, "Get back, you oil-thirsty parasites!" Which is meant to be the equivalent of the phrase blood-thirsty parasites. Is oil their blood? Why do they drink oil then? Is that the equivalent of a blood transfusion? Or are they literally drinking the blood from another animal? An oil change would be the equivalent of urinating. They have one giant eyeball with two pupils. That's not speculation, that's the actual design. That is except for that one car in Cars 2 with eyes for headlights, which raises a bunch of new questions. Is this a missing link in car evolution? Do they not have a brain? Are forklifts and cars separate species? The tractors are meant to be the equivalent of cows, and the harvester is the equivalent to a bull. So why are the normal cars human-esque? Why are Volkswagen Beetles insects? Would that be the human equivalent of tiny flying naked men? In Cars 2, we see the forklifts playing instruments like the sousaphone, the mandolin, and the accordion, none of which work with proposed forklift anatomy. Do forklifts have fingers? What is the water tank for a fire truck? Is it a bladder or a gland? Planes exist in this universe, some as birds and some as pilots. Is the cabin equivalent to the plane's stomach? Or is the cargo hold the stomach? How do planes manage to stay awake for 19-hour flights? Can they be manually overridden by another car in the cockpit? Is this Ratatouille rules? Cars need to breathe, so how do planes not suffocate at such high altitudes? The same applies to blimps and helicopters as well. NASA also exists in this universe, as well as having sentient space shuttles. Was the Saturn V also alive? Did it knowingly go into orbit, aware that it was going to burn up in the atmosphere? Was the lunar module also alive? Are satellites alive? Is the ISS alive? Do cars reproduce, or are they assembled in factories? If they are produced in factories, why does gender even exist? Why isn't an asphalt paver sentient while a car containing the same components is? How do cars age? Do they need to be upgraded every few years? Can a car change its outer shell? Can a race car become a police car, or are they stuck as a race car forever? Can a truck become a car? A train, perhaps? Are boats able to breathe underwater, or do they just have to close their mouths for months on end? Do submarines exist, and are they aquatic? We all know that extraterrestrial life also bears transportation-themed zoomorphism, meaning that all hyper-intelligent life in the universe is some form of automobile. Apart from where they're built and or born, how do cars have different ethnicities? If they get a scratch or a dent, they can't heal naturally. In Cars 3, the newer race cars are designed to be faster. Who designed them? Why do some cars need glasses? Isn't that like having a windshield in front of your windshield? We know that tires are the equivalent of shoes and or gloves, but are accessories like spoilers or rims plastic surgery? How can cars hear each other while driving at high speeds? The wind should be deafening.
Dude, those cars are so fucking funny, they make me want to merge without looking! Yeah, Rumsfeld!
There are several roads, highways, and buildings constructed across the world, so we can assume that construction equipment is also alive in addition to cars, such as steamrollers, bulldozers, excavators, etc. The Pizza Planet truck is seen in this universe, meaning that pizza also exists. How can pizza exist if there are no cows in this universe? Do they milk the tractors? Nata also knows about ice cream, meaning the milk must be coming from somewhere. We see a sushi bar in Cars 2, meaning that there are fish in this universe. And yes, the cars eat meat. That's as horrifying as it sounds. The only other option is that they are chopping up smaller vehicles and removing their flesh. Does car sushi taste like metal? Or is it just made of metal? The buildings are all distinctly made for humans, except for monuments and the entirety of the first movie. Sinks are still the same as the human world, which makes them possible to use for car anatomy. We see Guido making cocktails in the beginning of Cars 2. But why do the glasses have stems and handles if no one can pick them up? Shouldn't every glass just be a bucket and or jar? None of the sidewalks are wide enough to fit more than one car at once. Why are there even sidewalks if everything is car-related? You cannot have pedestrians if no one has feet. How do locks work in this universe if no one can carry keys? Do cars have pockets? There are taxis, buses, ambulances, and RVs, none of which serve any use. How do cars hold objects like guns or cameras? How do they operate said equipment without opposable fingers? Sheer willpower? There are animated movies in the Cars universe, meaning computers must also exist. How cars have the ability to use a keyboard, let alone animate a film, is completely horrifying to think about. There are also painted murals over the world, meaning that cars somehow wield brushes, pencils, and other minuscule artist's utensils. The only way we see cars holding tools is when it's built into their bodies. This is the equivalent of having a gun implanted under your skin. Dinoco exists in the Cars universe, but it should also exist in the car version of Toy Story. So Dinoco must have come first and land a sponsorship with Pixar. Pizza Planet would also have to come from Toy Story as well. Either Pizza Planet was founded as a tie-in brand to Toy Story, or Pixar took a sponsorship deal like with Dinoco. Every building would need elevators or ramps in place of stairways or ladders. We do see ramps inside the Tokyo Tower, which indicates the car architecture does fit with car life. Assuming the population has been completely turned into cars or other automobiles, how has the world not been obliterated by greenhouse gas emissions? Currently, there are over 1 billion cars in use. That is more than enough to completely destroy the planet, let alone 7 billion. And that's also assuming that all people have been turned into cars, excluding things like planes, rockets, helicopters, trains, boats, etc.
Look out! Now. There are some good common sense rules, you know. You must look where you're going. And it's no good thinking you can have a sleep or eat your breakfast out there, because you'll soon find yourself in trouble.
An elderly car is depicted as a Ford Model T, which debuted in 1923. The oldest car in existence was built in 1886. And the earliest automobile was made in 1769. Now that that is out of the way, let us continue. A picture of Stonehenge is seen in Lightning's room, which means cars have existed at least since 3000 BC. Outside of Buckingham Palace is a memorial for Queen Victoria, who was born well before cars were invented. This implies that cars have always looked like how they do now, but certain time periods go through rotating cultural repression and or a rite of passage for certain makes and or models. The appearance of Queen Elizabeth II in Cars 2 means that the British monarchy is identical. All of the atrocities committed by the British Empire also happened in the Cars universe. Because cars have to go through TSA at the airport, there was a Cars-esque 9/11. where the 3 planes coaxed by Osama bin Laden ordered cars inside hijack the plane's brains. This could also suggest the existence of a Saddam Hussein. Fillmore is supposed to be a hippie, meaning that there was both a car Vietnam War as well as an anti-car Vietnam movement. This may also suggest that Richard Nixon engaged in a wiretapping scandal called Matergate. Sarge is a World War II veteran, meaning that there was a car Hitler who persecuted the Jewmobiles. The existence of the Pope implies that there was a car Jesus who founded Catholicism. One of the cars swears by saying, "Oh, for the love of Chrysler!" meaning that Jesus' full name in this universe is in fact Jesus Chrysler. The symbol of Christianity is still a cross, although a car cannot be crucified on the cross. This also suggests every terrible event related to Christianity has also happened, such as the Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the Salem witch trials, and so forth. We see 4 animated movies at the theater: Toy Car Story, Monster Trucks Incorporated, A Bug's Life, and The Incredimobiles. We also see a car sponsored by Apple in the first race. This suggests that there was a Jeep Jobs who founded both a computer company as well as an animation studio. The existence of a Pixar may also suggest the existence of a Walt Duesenberg animation studio. One of the cars impersonates Elvis Presley, meaning that Elvis was either an RV or a regular car who wore a massive ugly headpiece. Because we see Arc de Triomphe, we know that there must have been a Napoleon bonus sport. The Louvre Museum suggests both the existence of King Louis XIV as well as the French Revolution, in which case a King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were crushed in a compactor. How does a guillotine work with a car? Please, I need to know. The Eiffel Tower must have been designed by a Gustave Eiffel for the 1889's World's Fair. The clock tower in London is called Big Bentley, suggesting that the bell inside the clock tower is called Big Bentley, despite the name supposedly referring to the exterior. The Titanic would have also been alive and would have probably suffered one of the most painful deaths that a sentient boat could experience. There must have been a John F. Kennedy car who was turned into a convertible against his will. How do you even assassinate a car with a gun? Was there ever a Martin Luther King Jr.? Were there civil rights protests in the Cars universe? Was there an Abraham Lincoln in the midst of the Civil War? Are tanks alive as well? If a warjig can be alive, why can't a tank? There must have been a George Washington car and the founding fenders. There were native automobiles in the Americas before the conquering nations came over and genocided them. And there you have it, the comprehensive history of cars. This video is sponsored by Siege, Heroes of Twilight. How was Jesus Chrysler crucified? The symbol of Christianity is still a cross, although a car cannot be crucified on the cross. How was Jesus Chrysler crucified? The symbol of Christianity is still a cross, although a car cannot be crucified on the cross. The symbol of Christianity is still a cross, although a car cannot be crucified on the cross. Fuck. Oh, I can't read this. This also suggests every terrible event related to Oh, fuck, my eyes. This also suggests every terrible event related to Christianity has also happened. Oh, fuck, what did I get in my eye? Oh my god, my eyes are burning. This also suggests every terrible event. Oh, my eyes! This is what watching Cars too much does. This is what happens if you watch Cars.